Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend D.G. Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Bots and Joes, the Capes and Lunatics review of all the classic Transformers and G.I. Joe comics from Marvel and beyond when we get there. But we're going to start at the beginning here. I am Phil, your host. For now, it is just me. Maybe one day we'll get someone else on here, but it's all right. Right now, just you and me, kids. All right. So, your first question probably is, I thought you were doing a monthly Spawn podcast. And yes, I may get back to that, but I've been feeling a big hankering for all these, all the old classic Transformers and G.I. Joe comics. Again, some of the very first comics I ever read were the Marvel Transformers run, so they hold a special place in my heart. And just reading the new stuff lately, I've been really getting an itch to go back and read all the old stuff, so. And I have never read the continuing G.I. Joe Real American Hero series by Larry Hama, as it's still going to this day. So, yes, this will also give me a nice excuse to read all those in order for the first time. All right, so the plan for this podcast will be, I'm going to try to go in chronological order and go by publication dates. So the first few episodes here will be all G.I. Joe, because, yes, G.I. Joe, the comic premiered in 1982. Transformers did not start until 1984. So, yes, the first three. But again, and I do want to get to the Transformers stuff too. And when I say Marvel Transformers, I am including the UK issues. I will include all the UK issues that had original stories and weren't reprints of the American stuff, which I will just do the American stuff. All right. And so stay tuned at the end of the episode. I'll tell you where we're going. And like I said, I think the first 2 or 3 episodes here will be all G.I. Joe. So, all right. So let's get to it. All right. So, and again, these first couple, I'd say the first, maybe before issue 20, maybe a little after. I'm always like, yeah, some of these Joe comics I could take. I don't know if I don't want to say take them or leave them, but I don't think Larry Hama hit his stride at least until that silent issue. But we'll get there soon here, kids. I think by episode 3. So, all right. So let's get in here. So we'll start again where all these start. G.I. Joe came first, so it's all going to come down to G.I. Joe number 1. If my notes ever load here. And again, I love Larry Hama's G.I. Joe series, but you will see, if it comes down to it, I kind of love the Transformers a little more. All right, so G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Volume 1, Number 1, from June 1982, Operation Lady Doomsday. Writer Larry Hama, who's still writing to this day. Penciler, the legendary Herb Trimpe. Inker, Bob McLeod. Colors, Glennis Ween. Letterer, Jim Novak. And editor, Tom DeFalco. And of course, this is the first appearance of everyone who appears in this. But yes, the first G.I. Joes we do get are Breaker, Clutch, Flash, Grand Slam, Grunt, Hawk, Rock and Roll, Scarlet, Short Fuse, Snake Eyes, of course, Stalker, Steeler, Zap, General Flag, and General Austin. And, of course, on Cobra side, we get Cobra Commander, Baroness, Gregor, a Cobra Officer, Cobra Trooper, Cobra Technician. So, all right. And, then, of course, the Joe vehicles, the HAL, the Hydrofoil, LCT, the Jump, the Mobat, the Ram, the Vamp. And the Cobra vehicles are just basically just general motorized glider, staff car, tank, and escape plane. Alright, so issue 1, Operation Lady Doomsday. Dr. Adele Burkhardt, America's top nuclear physicist, is kidnapped by Cobra during a press conference after denouncing the military for misleading her to working on a Doomsday project. The Joe team is sent to rescue her and prevent Cobra from attaining America's nuclear secrets. The Joes are broken into two groups, an insertion team and a heavy assault team. The insertion team sabotages Cobra's facilities and defenses to make way for the heavy assault team, which includes Hawk, Rock and Roll, Clutch, Grand Slam, Stealer, and Zap. While the assault team fights through Cobra's armor, Stalker finds the village on the island and discovers its residents all killed. Stalker flies the person he believes to be Dr. Burkhart to safety, but it turns out to be a disguised Baroness who reveals Cobra's true plan. Cobra Commander had no intention of extracting information from Burkhart. She was a bait to lure the Joe team into a trap. Snake Eyes and Scarlet find themselves trapped in the same room as Cobra Commander, who holds Burkhart hostage. The Commander reveals that he and Burkhart will escape on a plane with a timer that will unlock and let them go, but Burkhart reveals the timer is a bomb. The Commander shoots Burkhart, but Scarlet hurls a throwing star into his hand. The Joes secure a helicopter and fly to safety with less than 5 minutes on the bomb's timer. In the ensuing chaos, both Cobra Commander and the Baroness escape. Despite rescuing the wrong person, the Joes were successful in preventing Cobra from obtaining America's nuclear secrets. Alright, so great, good writing here. Again, some of these early issues, I feel like it's we really don't get really into the like the varied flavors of the G.I. Joe. Seems like almost one-note military at this point, but again, we're going to keep fleshing this out as this goes on. So, and for those of you who love the trivia, yes, this is a Marvel Comics, so the Marvel Universe Appendix website, 2006 edition of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, identify the G.I. Joe and U.S. version of Transformers continuities is taking place on Earth 91274, while the profile on Death's Head establishes that the Transformers UK takes place on Earth 120185. So, and then this is the first issue. We also got 4 pinups by Herb Trimpe and Al Milgrom. So, alrighty. Again, good. I mean, a good start, but again, I really don't think the ball really starts moving here for a while. So, all right. So, I'm kind of going to fly through these first couple because, again, we're going to try to hit 10 this time, maybe 10 next time. So, once we get the later episodes and the issue count comes down, we'll get into more of these in more detail. All right, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, number 2, August 1982, Panic at the North Pole. Larry Hama, writer again, Don Perlin, penciler, inker Jack Abel, colorist Bob Sharon, and letterer Jim Novak. An American research station in the North Pole is raided. All personnel killed and records are missing. General Austin sends the G.I. Joe team to investigate. The team observes a nearby Russian installation since they cannot initiate contact with them. It says here in Eskimo, but I believe we call them Inuits now. Arrives with a machine gun and goes inside the research station for a minute, then leaves with the door open. The Joes enter the station and find the researchers dead. Research records taken in an ultra-low frequency transmitter capable of affecting human brainwaves, missing a key part. They barely escape after Snake Eyes spots a planted explosive. The team goes after the Inuit, who is a mercenary named Quinn. Quinn forces them to surrender and takes their supplies and ammo. He reveals that he was hired to eliminate all evidence of the Russians' experiments with fear waves. He took the records in the American research station and the Russians' frequency modulator. He heads for the submarine that will pick him up, leaving the Joes to their fate. Stalker refuses to give up and orders his team to strip whatever useful material they can from the broken-down plane that brought Quinn to the Arctic. They cobble together an ice sailboat and outrace Quinn's dog sled. They set up an explosive trap at an ice bridge, but Quinn sends his dog sled as decoy. The Joes find out that Quinn took out the firing pins and added them to his weasel skull necklace as a form of good luck. Quinn admits he held up his contract, but to test what the Russians were doing with fear waves. Quinn meets with his Russian contacts and gives them the records and the frequency modulator. He packs up and starts to leave, angering the Russians as they found out the Joe team is also on the way. Quinn leaves his weasel skull necklace in a cairn, hoping the fear would vanish from the world. The Joe team is about 4 miles from the cairn's location compared to the Russian one. Their only hope is to find it before the Russians do. Quinn gives the Russians little credit for being able to find the skull necklace and the firing pins. All right, not a lot of notes on this one. And for those of you G.I. Joe fans who may not have read these, but are fans of like the cartoon or later interpretations, we don't get Duke here yet. They kind of, I don't know if this was intentional with Marvel or people were just confusing the characters, but we kind of get like a blonde, almost crew cut General Hawk in these issues. So I'm not sure if people were just confusing these two characters. Who, me look so handsome? Why, thank you. All right. I don't know who that is. All right. So yeah, we're kind of getting just like a straight up, one adventure per mission. Nothing's really except for, who's showing up, bleeding over from issue to issue. So yeah, again, once we get to further on, I'd like when we stuff starts carrying over. All right, let's get the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Volume 1, Number 3. September 1982, The Trojan Gambit. Larry Hama, Herb Trimpe's back on pencils. 2 inkers, Jack Abel and John DiAcostino. Colorist George Rosis, letterer Diana Elbers, and editor Tom DeFalco. Yeah, so our art teams are kind of, we're getting like rotating artistic teams here. So, I wonder if I don't know if it was that intentional or if we're just like, I'm not trying to badmouth the G.I. Joe, but I'm just like, again, it's like we're some people just like, I don't know, it's just like. Again, we're really not getting a fully fleshed out iteration of G.I. Joe like we will be getting later on, and right now where people are just like, oh, this is just an attempt to sell toys, and again, sometimes it doesn't matter the era. I swear, in the comics industry, they work people to the bone. So, all right. So, what is the Trojan Gambit? After a successful raid on a Cobra stronghold, the Joe team brings back a battle robot to their headquarters, the Pit. Hours later, while Hawk and Scarlet are running a social tea in the motor pool above the Pit, the robot, unbeknownst to them, activates itself and seals the Joes in various rooms. Clutch, Steeler, and Breaker are trapped in the canteen, while Stalker, Snake Eyes, and Flash are trapped in the arms room. The trio in the canteen suspects the robot is involved and use aftershave and fire to destroy it. Meanwhile, visitors in the motor pool notice the unusual activity and the smell of electrical fire, but Hawk and Scarlet do their best to convince them otherwise. After destroying the robot, the Joes realize the robot has detached itself and has become mobile once again. It hides in the swimming pool and sets fire to the Pit. The Joes retreat to the garage area where their vehicles are situated, but they are not armed. They hear the robot coming up after them in the elevator shaft, and Clutch sends the elevator down to crash on the robot, but it continues climbing. The Joes push a laser cannon down the shaft, but the robot avoids it and then breaks open the garage doors. Steeler throws silver paint on the robot's head, tricks it toward the hydraulic lift well, and causes it to fall to its destruction. Meanwhile, the robot's head spouts tentacles and tries to climb up the shaft. But Flash knocks it down with his laser rifle. The head falls and releases insect-like robots. Breaker identifies them as mobile transmitters designed by Cobra to locate the Pit. Scarlet intercepts one of the robots and crushes it with her foot, ending the threat. With the robot's mission over, Cobra is forced to leave the area before their helicopter fuel runs out. Alright, so yes, this robot was built by Cobra, but this almost seems like an early attempt at could we make a Transformers and G.I. Joe? But again, I don't know if the Transformers are even around yet, or if they are, maybe not in the U.S. yet. But yeah, again, the robot's kind of that size like a Transformer, so it almost seems like we're toying with this idea. Again, I kind of like this. We're kind of getting more. We're getting more into the Joes, but yeah, again, it's a lot of one and dones here, and I wonder if Larry Hama was like still trying to figure out the roadmap to seeing the road ahead, or was he told to just kind of keep this story short and sweet? Because again, the first 4 issue, the Transformers was set as a 4-issue miniseries that proved so popular, it kept going on, which we'll get to. But I don't know if they ever said that with G.I. Joe. I wonder if the roadmap was just, oh hey, okay, keep putting out issues as long as it's selling, as long as we're in the green, we'll keep publishing them. So maybe there's a less vague plan with them, but all right. So let's keep moving here. Like I said, we're going to do 10 here this first episode. All right, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, number 4 from October 1982, Operation Wingfield. Larry Hallman, Herb Trimpe are back. Got John DiCostino and Jack Gable as inkers again. I think, looks like everyone might be from the last issue, so we might have a set team here for a while. In this one, the Joe team is alerted to the existence of an extreme paramilitary group led by Commander Wingfield, who may have ties to Cobra. Hawk and Grunt go undercover as recruits while Snake Eyes conducts reconnaissance. Snake Eyes discovers that the group has a B-29 Superfortress bomber capable of nuclear deployment. He spies on Wingfield and his officers having a meeting, and they plan to detonate a nuclear warhead in the camp and deliver another to Vladivostok, leading to World War III. Meanwhile, Hawk and Grunt investigate a warehouse and discover that Wingfield has T-60E tanks, likely smuggled by Cobra. They trigger an alarm and are overpowered by Wingfield's men. Wingfield is forced to hasten his plan, and his right-hand man, Carruthers, suits up for flight. Snake Eyes radios for reinforcements, and they see the B-29 fly off. Hawk commandeers a jet fighter to go after it, but the radio won't work. He shoots the B-29's engines, and it crashes into the ocean. Grunt and Snake Eyes are about to engage Wingfield until they learn that he intends to use his recruits' families as armed human shields. Wingfield's wife Sherry shoots him in the back just as he's about to shoot a recruit's wife. Sherry informs the Joes that Vance activated a 10-minute timer on a nuclear warhead, and Zap and Grunt work together to deactivate a bomb. So just like issue 1, we have a detonator, a big detonator, so like set to blow everyone up. But again, Wingfield really wasn't Cobra. I don't know. I think they mentioned that he may have been financed by Cobra at some point. But again, these Marvel comics really weren't the cartoon. Because like I said, we really don't have a Duke yet. Duke's not going to come in here for a while. We're kind of substituting General Hawk for Duke. And again, as you'll see later on, because it gets even more as we go on. This will be more violent than the cartoon, which again had more, like Saturday Morning Fives. They're shooting lasers. Nothing really gets hit except for like equipment and stuff. Oh yeah, this gets violent. I mean, people get threatened. People get shot and killed. So, and again, I mean, I don't mean to keep harping on this point, but we're very, except for some of the weapons and vehicles here, we're kind of really grounded in like real world military here. And again, we're kind of gonna get beyond that as we get on here, especially when we delve into some of the ninja stuff. So, all right, so, and again, we're really getting into some Snake Eyes stuff. Right now, he's basically just a masked, mysterious man. All right, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, number 5 from November 1982. Tanks for the Memories, because there's a tank involved, kids. So, yes, Tanks for the Memories. All right, Larry Hama still, Don Perlin. Inker this time is Mike Esposito. Colorist is Stan Goldberg, and letterer is Jim Novak. So yes, so our team is kind of fluctuating again. This one, the Joes prepping the Moat Tank for the Armed Forces Day parade in New York City. However, Cobra intercepts a memo about the tank and initiates a plan to steal it. During the parade, the Joes realize that the drum and bugle corps surrounding the tank are actually Cobras, and they make a getaway. With no ammunition, they come up with a plan to capture the Cobras and successfully do so using the Mobat's temporary amphibious capability. Meanwhile, General Flagg is trying to appease the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who are growing impatient with the lack of tanks in the parade. The Mobat arrives unkempt and the Bugle Corps under custody, causing disapproval from the generals. However, the Joes detect significant electronic activity under the stand where the generals are sitting, and they smash it down, revealing Cobra's command post. In the ensuing confrontation, Flagg is grazed by a shot from Cobra Commander, and the villains escape into the crowd. After the events, Flagg debriefs the Joes, and they reveal their secret of using a sound amplifier and the Mobat speakers to create a warning shot. Flagg is impressed with their resourcefulness. So Larry Hama was in the military, I believe, so he could probably speak to this more than I can, but if you have like this elite kind of secret fighting force, I don't know, are they really be driving a tank in a parade? And again, I mean, and that's the other thing, like I was talking about the violence and like the more fleshed out stories later on. I think, again, we're going to get more sophisticated stories right later on. Right now, I think they're dealing with, oh, hey, this is kind of, we're going to sell some toys, and I think this is more aimed at young boys. They're looking to sell the toys, and later on it gets away from that a little bit. Even though I'll get into this in future episodes, but I believe Larry Hama's like, anytime they introduced a figure or a certain toy, Larry Hama got notes that, oh yeah, you have to kind of include that in the series somewhere. So, meanwhile, there's characters who've again, the series is at like around 305, 306 right now, and I think there's characters who've only appeared once or twice in those 300 plus issues. So, all right, so let's get to number 6. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 6 from December 1982. To fail is to conquer. To succeed is to die. Larry Hama, Herb Trimpe, Jack Abel, Christy Shealy colors this time. And Jim Novak letters again. This one, Hawk puts together a team of Joes to retrieve a Russian spy plane that crashed in Afghanistan. Afghan rebels have secured the plane and are willing to trade it for anti-tank and anti-aircraft missiles. The Joes assemble an RTV with the help of the rebels and start their journey to retrieve the plane. However, they are attacked by the October Guard. Remember them, kids? They're going to come back here. Who are also after the plane. The two groups engage in hand-to-hand combat, but the fight is interrupted when Cobra surrounds and captures them. The story ends with Cobra Commander ordering the execution of both groups. Oh, so our first cliffhanger here, kids. So see, the world's getting a little bigger, and again, I mean, Cobra is the enemy here, but we also are got the October Guard here, so we're kind of fleshing out this world more and more. Alright, so since we hit on that cliffhanger here, let's get to the next one so we can see what happens. Alright, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Volume 1, Number 7, January 1983, Walls of Death. We got Larry Hama, Herb Tripp, Chick Stone inker this time, and I think everyone is the same. Oh, Mr. Dennis O'Neill's the editor here. Okay. So we've kind of jumped from Tom DeFalco to Dennis O'Neill. In Afghanistan, I wonder if the Denny O'Neil thing too is, I know he did some work for Hasbro and the Transformers stuff, like naming certain characters, and then, of course, helping with the comics and stuff. So I wonder if this is when Dennis O'Neil kind of starts to be the go-between between Marvel Comics and Hasbro. Again, let me know if you know the answer. At the end, I'll let everyone know how you can contact me, or you can just read it across the bottom of the screen. All right, number 7, Walls of Death. In Afghanistan, both the G.I. Joe team and October Guard are prisoners of Cobra. They were made to fight against each other while Cobra troops surrounded them. 2 Cobra troopers were left to execute the prisoners while Cobra Commander and his troops returned to their stronghold. The Joes were able to escape the gauntlet when Clutch programmed the Vamps machine gun turrets to aim and fire at the troops. The Joes and the Guard then decided to join forces to track and retrieve a spy plane that Cobra took from them. They located the stronghold in the Iranian desert and formulated a plan to enter the seemingly featureless building. During the infiltration, they encountered several booby traps, resistance from Cobra troopers, and a robotic doppelganger of Cobra Commander. In the end, the Joes successfully retrieved the remnants of the spy plane, but were shocked to learn that it was only a decoy and the real one had already been airlifted out of Afghanistan. Yeah, that got heavy there. Because, Stalker's leading this team and said, there's a point where they can, like, turn and leave, and it's like, well, we don't want Cobra to get this, but we're not supposed to let the Russians get this either, so Stalker's like, yeah, no matter what, we got to press on, and then at the end, Hawk lets them know, yeah, no, that was just like, was it like machine parts or something? It was something, it was a decoy, so they get the real plane out. But again, much more like real worldy than like the animated series of this time and stuff. And again, we're using like real locations here, like again to really drive home the real worldness, like Afghanistan, Iran. Yeah, I would love to talk to Larry Hama. Well, about all his 4 decades on G.I. Joe, and of course, you know, his other Marvel stuff like Wolverine and stuff. So, Mr. Hama, if you're watching, please get a hold of me, CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. All right. So we will go to issue number 8. See, kids, we're almost there. All right, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, number 8 from February 1983, codename Sea Strike. Oh, okay. This one is, all right. I knew there was a few that Larry Hama hadn't written, but all right. This issue is written, penciled, and inked by Herb Trimpe. So this is a big Herb Trimpe production here. Colors Christy Shealy and letterer Rick Parker. All right, so what did this Herb have for us? In this story, Cobra Commander orders an attack on the Kennedy Space Center using a spy ship while the Joe team is mobilized to protect a satellite that can locate and destroy Cobra's underwater launch sites. The Joes split into 2 teams with Flash and Breaker accompanying the shuttle during launch and landing. However, Cobra attacks and the Joes are forced to withdraw, but they eventually turn the tide and destroy the Cobra invasion force. Cobra attempts one more attack against the pursuing Joe team, but the Joes locate and board Cobra's undersea base, where they overcome the Cobra force and make their escape before the base explodes. Although they think they finally defeated the commander, he escapes yet again. This one ends with the Joes wondering what their next mission will be. So, yeah, again, it didn't seem too far off base for what we've got in the previous 7 issues and stuff. And again, Herb Trimpe was there for most of them. So, yeah, he has the inside scoop on how the sausage is made. So, yeah, nothing wrong. And again, I mean, I should have the cover for these to share, but I think I'll do that for next time. But yeah, like some of the equipment here, like this airship that's attacking Stalker and Scarlet. I wonder if it's something Herb Trimpe designed, because like it almost looks like the ship Rover that Hank Pym would use later on years from now in the West Coast Avengers. So I wonder if Herb Trimpe designed that, or somebody at Marvel came up with the design of that. All right, so, and again, I don't think the G.I. Joe toys had come out with the shuttle yet. So yes, this is just happenstance that Herb Trimpe has them. Yes, regarding the space shuttle and stuff. All right, let's get to issue number 9. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, number 9, from March 1983, The Diplomat. This one, a new writer again, Stephen Grant, penciler Mike Vosberg, inker Chickstone, colorist Andy Yankus, and letterer Janice Chiang. So yeah, we've really kind of reset the pieces once again, especially from last issue. In this story, the Joes conduct a raid on a Cobra safe house where they find evidence of an assassination attempt against the representatives of the U.S. and Alawi. Clutch and Scarlet are tasked with protecting the American diplomat Brian Hassel, while Stalker and Snake Eyes investigate Cobra's true plans. Along the way, the Joes encounter several attempts on Hassel's life, and Scarlet becomes suspicious of his true intentions. They eventually learn that Hassel is the assassin, and the ambassador is the true target. After a tense ski chase, the Joes manage to stop the assassination and save the ambassador's life. Despite the operation's failure, Cobra Commander is pleased, seeing it as just another game. Alright, I like this one. Some of these issues, like especially this one now, not everything is so cut and dried military now. We're kind of even almost getting into like secret agent type stories and stuff. And again, this isn't Larry Hama, but again, maybe that's because it's Stephen Grant that we're kind of getting a different flavor, of course. But I think even when Larry Hama does return eventually, he does start thinking outside of the box more, swinging in, as we'll get to later on. We're like steering into the skid of like Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and ninja stuff. And again, almost like more spy stuff and straight up military. So, although we do get a lot of that too. So, again, I like the different elements. It's like, just if it's straight up military, no. But if you start adding the ninjas and the spy craft and everything, yeah, it gets a whole lot interesting. All right, let's get to the last one for this episode, and then we'll talk what's coming next and some other stuff. All right, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 10, from April 1983. So, hey, look, I just turned 5. All right, a nice little town like ours. Because, yes, kids, it's going to play a big part in the G.I. Joe comic mythos here going forward, but Cobra has set up kind of a base, kind of a sanctuary in this town called Springfield, which I do believe I have read that this town is named Springfield in the story because I think, what is it, that there are more towns named Springfield in this country than are named anything else, so that kind of keeps it vague where it's like, oh, it could be in this part of the country or this part of the country, so yeah. So that's, again, this is probably perhaps why the creators of The Simpsons named it Springfield. So, yes, kids, if you're looking for a nice general name for an American town in a story you're writing or something, yes, use Springfield because they're all over the place. All right, Larry Hama's back as writer. Mike Vosberg is penciler again. Chick Stone inker, colors Christy Shealy, letterer Joe Rosen, and Mr. Dennis O'Neil is editing again. All right, in this one, the Joes launch an assault in a Cobra hideout in Manhattan, but are surprised when they discover the top of the building is actually a trap door leading to an aircraft. The Joes are captured and held prisoner with Scarlet, Zap, and a young boy drugged and hallucinating. Meanwhile, Snake Eyes is attached to a device that can read his thoughts, with Cobra hoping to learn the location of G.I. Joe headquarters. After escaping their cell with the help of the boy, Scarlet and Zap rescue Snake Eyes and steal the aircraft to return to New York. However, the pilot of the aircraft tries to kill them, and they are forced to parachute to safety in the eastern seaboard before taking a bus to Staten Island. So, public transportation saves the day. All right. Again, good issue, and again, I feel like this is the first one where we're actually starting to set up things for the future. Like, again, Springfield is definitely going to, heck, it still appears to this day, I believe. So, yeah, for the next 40-some years, yes, Springfield is going to come up from time to time in these stories. Cobra is not letting go of Springfield anytime soon. And again, I think they kind of sort of the barest of hints of like Snake Eyes' origin and backstory, which we're gonna start revealing that more and more. And then I can't wait for one of my favorite stories, the Snake Eyes trilogy, but that's not till like issues in the 90s, so it's gonna be a little bit. Alright, so seeing if there's any notes. Yeah, not a lot of notes. Again, the big notes were, the Earth that this and the upcoming Transformers comic will take place in. So, alright, so sorry, it's kind of an info dump this time, but again, like I said, I'm trying to do a lot of G.I. Joe so we can get to the Transformers. And then the first issue episode of Transformers is kind of be heavy like this too. But then after that, yeah, I'm going to cut down the issue per episode, and we'll do some G.I. Joe and Transformers each time, and we do a nice compare and contrast. What's the writer doing here? What's Larry Hama doing over here? But yeah, but again, and I love feedback on all my shows. When I have a co-host or not. Especially here, I'm on my own. Please send me feedback, so at least we're not just like rambling into the wind. You can email me, write it down. You can also email or call the voicemail and leave audio feedback. The world can hear you in your own voice. Just send me your thoughts on the G.I. Joe stuff, especially if it's stuff I've talked about, the episode you see, or the upcoming, like the episode, because I always tell you what's coming up next episode, or just randomly tell me your favorite Joes, Cobras, Autobots, Decepticons, favorite toys you had as in your life, any of the Transformers and G.I. Joe stuff, cartoons, live action movies, heck, I think I don't know if Transformers. I know G.I. Joe in the early 90s had trading cards. Does anyone remember G.I. Joe trading cards? I do. So send me your favorite, thoughts. What's your favorite merch from each franchise? Do you have something that maybe not a lot of people know about, and if you don't mind sharing, send me pictures. I'll post it on our social media. All right, so you're probably like, okay, what's coming next? How do I get a hold of you? All right, we're going to do all that right now. Let me pull up our schedule here. There we go. All right. Couldn't find it for a second. All right. And for those of you who may be watching for the first time, yes, the Capes and Lunatics and Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks podcasts are part of the Capes and Lunatics podcast network. Most of our shows are very superhero-centric, Marvel, DC. And again, we'll stray into Image and some of the other companies. But we also have a few shows where basically it's just pop culture in general. It's not comic-centric. All right. So, and again, you can find you'll be able to find Bots and Joes on Facebook. There's a Twitter account. The Capes and Lunatics and the show and Capes and Lunatics podcast network. They're all on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads. So you can find Capes and Lunatics. Just search Capes and Lunatics on social media. You'll probably find it, and this will go on Capes and Lunatics, this show. So, all right. And next time, please send me your thoughts. We're going to do 10 more issues. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, 11 through 20. And then episode 3, we're going to do 10 more, 21 through 30, including, so yes, issue 21. Even if you've never read the G.I. Joe series, you know issue 21. It's the silent issue with Snake Eyes on the cover. There's the cover right there, right above me in the middle there. So yeah, again, if you have no other thoughts on any other issue, you know you have thoughts on issue 21. So that'll be episode 3. Then episode 4, we will finally get to Transformers because, and again, I want to get to a point where we can start doing a little both. So we'll cover the first 8 issues of the U.S. Transformers on episode 4. And again, I kind of had some old ones where my former co-host and I, Matt Conan, did some live reads of those issues. But yes, this will be more of a straight-up review. So that's why I'm trying to also get through the first 8 because, again, live reads of those have gone up on our podcast. You can scroll down. You can check our YouTube channel for those. There's playlists for that. Yeah, episode 5, I'll do this may sound weird to jump from Transformers 8 to 33 and 34, but 33 and 34, the American Transformers, was a reprint of like the first UK arc, which is funny because the UK was usually reprinting the US stuff half the time. And then in that episode, we'll also do the UK issues 9 through 21, which sounds like a lot, but I think they only had like a few Transformers pages in each issue. It wasn't like a complete full issue. So, yeah. And then we'll get the G.I. Joe 31 through 40. And then after that, then after that, we'll start to get like a mixture every episode by episode 7 of, the U.S. Transformers, UK Transformers, the G.I. Joe series, and, depending on, when they were published and, how big certain arcs are. So, and again, yes, once we get to episode 5, we'll kind of pare this down to like probably anywhere between 3 and 5 issues instead of 10 each episode. So, but yes, please send me your thoughts on all. Everyone doesn't have to hear me just ramble by myself. I mean, if you would be interested in co-hosting, reach out to me. Again, I do so many shows, so my schedule was always kind of wonky. So yeah, I mean, if you have kind of an open schedule and join me, but yeah, I mean, again, you can kind of co-host this show by sending me feedback. So yes, again, send me feedback, CapesandLunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And you can find episodes of this show. Well, there's only one so far, but episodes of this show, episodes of all the other Capes and Lunatics podcast network shows, including Energon Universe, where my co-hosts Justin and Russell join me every month, and we cover the new stuff over at Image for the Energon Universe, the new Transformers series, the Void Rivals, the mini-series that have been coming out for G.I. Joe, like Duke and Cobra Commander. Scarlet is coming up soon. We're going to have an interview with Kelly Thompson, who's going to be writing the Scarlet mini-series when it comes out, when issue 1 comes out. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that. But yeah, you can find our episodes, our social media, merchandise, the Capes and please help support this network and help us bring you all these shows by buying merch. We have new merchandise because we have some new logos out. So yeah, t-shirts, phone cases, cups. There's so much more. I'm forgetting that all the stuff that's on there. But yeah, you can get all Capes and Lunatics merchandise, all our logos on so much merch. We also have a Patreon where, again, we always do something different every month. You'll get at least one uncensored episode that's completely off the wall, uncensored, craziness. And of course, if you're just a kind person and want to just rain random money on us, you can always just hit up our Cash App link, Capes and Lunatics.
Make it rain.
And again, we have a YouTube channel. You can watch any episode we put up on our podcast, go up as a video also, so you can see all our lovely faces. But you can find everything I just mentioned or links to it at tubespace.io/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network. That's tubespace.io/Capes and Lunatics Podcast Network. And I know that's kind of long, but it's always in all of our show notes for every episode, whether it's on the podcast, on our YouTube channel. So yes, if you're watching this or listening to this and you want that link, just scroll down. It's right below. So it'll always be in the show notes. And again, yes, please send me your thoughts on G.I. Joe, Transformers, especially this old stuff. But yeah, it doesn't even have to be the comics, merchandise, any of it. So send me your pictures. Do you have huge collections? I'm so jealous of people's huge collections, because I had collections of both when I was a kid and got rid of them like an idiot, selling them for a couple bucks and thinking back in the day well, look at all this money I made. That's nothing compared to what I get for it now. But yeah, I'm jealous. If you have big collections, send me your pictures of your collection. So, and if you don't mind, we'll put it up on social media. We'll share the love. So, all right. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. Wasn't a rambling mess too much. All right. Again, episode 2, G.I. Joe issues 11 through 20. Again, I'm going to try to do this monthly. Sometimes if we have a space free, like 2 a month. But yes, we're going to try to do this once a month. So yes, come back next time, kids. Yo, Joe, remember, knowing and listening to this podcast is half the battle.